Hello and welcome to the channel. I'm Cindy Daychuk with Queen Bee Creations. Thanks for tuning in today. Today is a thrift flip video with a little bit of a difference. I'm getting a lot of questions from those of you that have small businesses, side hustles, that kind of thing in terms of, okay, I've got a full-time job, I've got a life, I'd really like to make this work, but you know, how do you do it when it's just me? And so I want to kind of address that a little bit with you guys over the course of doing this thrift flip, because it does mean that your time is limited, and I get that. And it means you have to be a little bit more strategic when you're getting things prepared for your booth. I mean, obviously you want to pay attention to what's selling, what isn't. Am I selling more smalls? Am I selling more large? What are the colors that are selling within my marketplace? I get that you can check out Pinterest for all kinds of inspiration, but just because somebody, you know, they're selling bright yellow doesn't mean bright yellow is gonna work in your market. Test it, but you know, don't fill the booth with it until you know, gee, there's a market for it. And that goes the same for anything. You know, there's people that I follow, and there's certain things that they're going, oh, you know what? I pick this up every time that I'm thrifting or at auctions because it sells so fast, right? It's a moneymaker. Well, that's great, but it doesn't make money in my area, right? That's not what people are looking for. So you have to get to know and understand your market, right? What are people responding? If you're listing things on Facebook Marketplace or Etsy, what are the things that are selling? One of the other things, though, is that I get having limited time. I mean, I have the storefront, which means when it's open, I am the person working the cash. I'm the person that's doing all of the product ordering and the pricing, and I'm doing all the social media on 7 different sites. I'm doing all the videoing and the editing, which is why the quality is not great. I don't have time to learn to make it great. Sorry, I'm just getting content out for you. But I'm doing all the things. I am the shipping department. You know, my husband, when he has a chance, he'll swing by and he drops them off for mailing, saving me a trip, because often the post office is closed by the time that I would get out of here or have a chance. But by and large, for the most part, it's me. So it does mean I need to take as many shortcuts as possible. And I want to show you one of them today. You know, part of it is, you know, when you're doing thrifting and you're picking up stuff that needs zhuzhing, that's your time. So your time is limited, which means you have to be very strategic about how you're using that time. So for instance, we're going to do a thrift flip today, and I have 5 different objects. So we're going to do this mirror. So lovely, heavy, right? We're gonna do this little decorative mirror. I pulled out of the stash this little set, super cute, all different little lids, right? So that's number 2. We're gonna do this guy. So, you know, kind of a jewelry hanger, that kind of thing. I have to look for a little dish. So down here, there's a little spot. I'm gonna find just something in the shop that's a little dish, and I'm gonna glue it on. So I'm just gonna glue that sucker on there so that now we've got, if somebody's using this for hanging jewelry, they can toss their earrings and rings. It can be a little trinket dish. It just makes it a little bit more practical. So I'm gonna glue that on, and then it's gonna get the same treatment. I thrifted this plastic finial, right? So it's got this bad faux job on it. And then I thrifted these 2 little things, and I think that they are, see, thrift, there's a sticker. I think, because they've got a little screw on the side, I think that they're end posts of something. But I'm gonna do them as a pair of finials, okay? So that these could be part of decorative vignettes or on opposite ends of a buffet, credenza, bookshelf, I mean, whatever, mantle. But what I wanted to do was show you that one of the fastest ways of being able to refinish things is to start off by doing them all the same. So we're gonna paint everything black. And for this, because I want it to be fast and I'm gonna do treatments on top of it, I am going to spray paint. So I am just using a Rust-Oleum spray paint in matte black that I got from Home Depot. So nothing super special. It's one, I think it's called Painter's Touch. It's designed to go on wood, on plastic, on metal, all the things. So all I'm gonna be doing off camera is spraying everything black. That's the first step. Super fast, dries quickly, and then it enables us to then spend our time on doing different finishes. And I'm gonna walk through those with you. But when you're having to be the only one doing a lot of this and getting things ready for your booth, you're gonna wanna have things that are kind of similar in color or tone that go together. Then you end up with someone that comes in and they buy 2, 3, 4 items because they can use it within their decor. If it works for them, then they're gonna have a number of things that work for them. So we're gonna do them up a little bit different to give you an idea of how much you can switch up black. But bear in mind, once these are all black, you could pick one of the treatments that I show you and do all of them in that same treatment. So you've got consistent elements, whether it's for your home or whether it's because you are going to a market or you have a booth and you're a reseller. So first step is, you know what? Get all the like items that are gonna be the same color and paint them all at once. All right. First up out of our grouping are these little containers. Now this is a super cute little set with the tray, but you know, I'll tell you the truth. I mean, if you were looking at painting this, you're gonna be spending a lot of time if you are hand painting this. Much easier to plan on spraying it because of all the little grooves, just from a time perspective. If you are doing this for yourself, you're maybe putting it in your bathroom, you want it to be a specific color because it matches and goes with your color scheme, then expense the time. But if you're looking at doing something like this for resale, whatever the venue, hand painting this, it's just gonna be crazy. It's gonna take way too much time. Now, what I do have is I have a container of metallic champagne gold from Fusion. Fusion has a whole line of metallic paints. These are all-in-ones as well. This one is old. I had a customer that wanted the whole inside of a hutch painted this color, which we did. This is leftover, and it's been here for a couple of years. So what's delightful about it is it's nice and thick. And this is gonna be like a nice, soft, shimmery kind of gold. It's gonna be very light and creamy, right? So kind of like a silvery pale gold. Oh, I'm gonna be wearing that for a while. Okay, so what I want to do is I just wanna take a little bit on my finger. You could do this with a tiny paintbrush if you want, right? And I just want to rub it over all of the details. I'm gonna do this on the edging. So you see how that just makes that pop and it gives you that beautiful contrast. So again, remember what I said at the beginning, any of these finishes, any of the looks that I give you, you could do with all of these, right? So all of the items I've done, you could take this same light champagne gold and you could just highlight the details in this. But this self-seals, so you're kind of just one and done. You're gonna highlight the details with this, and then this is finished. And there's nothing that says everything that you sell must be complicated, finish, or have taken you tons of time. For these finials, I thought we might try, you know what, I'm playing. So what I do have is I have some Shipwrecked wax by DIY. This is a turquoise finishing wax. And I have a little fairly stiff brush. And what I thought that I would do is just kind of use this a little judiciously, meaning I'm not slapping it on the entire thing like I normally do. And I'm just kind of painting it down in the crevices, because what I'm thinking is I want to get this down in there, and I will take a cloth and kind of wipe off some of the excess. And then I want to dry brush on the copper patina, the Pennies from Heaven by DIY, which is also like it self-seals, so it's a finishing coat. And I'm just not putting the wax everywhere because I kind of like the Pennies from Heaven to stick. So I'm not doing this so that it's this part in your face. It's sitting down in the groove, so it's giving a little bit of an accent there, a little bit soft. And I'll get the wax on both of them, and then we'll come back and do the copper over top. So you can see these already have some lovely detailed popping with just that turquoise wax. Now you could be done. You could just finish and not do anything beyond that. If that's the look that you want. I'm just doing more because you know what? Some days you just feel like it. So what I have is a really old chip brush that's very stiff and ratty, because I don't want it to be even textured. And I'm wiping it off so that I'm using a fairly dry brush, and I'm just going to go in the direction of those kind of petals up, and you can see I haven't re-dipped my brush. I'm still using that same amount of paint of that patina that I had put on. So we're not talking about a lot. I'm at the end, but I'm just gonna wipe what's on that tabletop because it's gonna be enough. And there we go. So the difference between the two, right? This already looks better with a little bit of that turquoise, then with a little bit of that copper brushing, it just again makes it stand out just that little bit more. And it's not major, and it's certainly not a lot of work. And again, it doesn't always have to be major work on your smalls for you to be able to zhuzh them up and net a profit, or for you to be able to change out very quickly your home decor. For our mirror, you can see I've got it all taped off in the middle, but to highlight the details, I don't want to spend tons of time on this, so I don't want to get out a paintbrush and do a meticulous finish. Again, my finger is going to work just fine. You could use like a thick paste to be able to do this, but they're more opaque than I'm looking for. Golden Rule by DIY is a gold wax. It's kind of in an antiqued gold look, so it's not super bright gold, and it's very translucent. So it just makes it, you know, a little bit more delicate. So for this, what I do is I use one finger to apply it, and then a second finger to kind of spread it out a little bit. And I just work slowly because a little bit goes a long way. So, you know, if I get a little bit of a too much or a blob, I was going to say, if I get a blob, it's a minuscule blob, but a blob nonetheless, that's where that second finger comes in to help me be able to blend that in. And I'm just going for, you know, a little bit of that softer look, not too harsh, So we're not looking for something that is outlining it exactly or perfectly. But you can see the difference that that makes in terms of making it pop. So it's not especially time consuming because it really goes on quite quickly, spreads quite quickly, and it just really depends upon the level of detail on your piece. This has some lovely details we're bringing out, but I don't want it to be a glaring contrast, right? So we're adding it on, but this is in a much softer gold look than, say, maybe like a rub and buff product or something. So we're doing it a little bit softer, a little bit more antiqued, which I think is in keeping with the look of the piece. But I'm just going to continue doing this. And again, it's a wax, so it's going to seal itself, which means I just need to let it dry and I don't have any other steps. For our little jewelry holder and trinket dish, you can see that little dish that I glued on there just fits perfectly, makes it a little bit more practical for, you know, tossing other items into there. You know, it's just kind of plain. We're gonna go silver with this one because why not? So for this, I have gilding wax by Annie Sloan. So very similar to like a rub and buff product. It's a really thick paste. I am going to, let me see what I want to do brush wise. All right, I'm going to take a little brush to apply this, and I'm going to be fairly liberal with it. The bodice has a lot of detail, and I'm thinking, so I'm going to try this first and see. So I'm thinking that if I put it in all over and I use the brush and then I wipe back, that I can get some of that detail showing through better. Because we had all that kind of French theme happening there. So I'm not doing the whole thing silver, but I'm thinking the bodice we could do silver. All right, so this is all that I'm doing in the silver is kind of the little head and the bodice. I did these hooks and the little dish on the bottom. So what I want to do now is just kind of tone it down a little bit. I'm going to take the same little brush, and here I've got black wax. And I'm going to cover, you know what, because the rest is black, it's going to make my life easier. I'm just taking my cloth and I'm going to rub the black wax in. I just really want to highlight some of those grooves and some of the details and just kind of take the some of the shininess of that silver. You can see how great that silver is if you're looking at trying to get like that shiny silver, not shiny silver. You can just see how great that is, right? And you saw rubbing it, it sticks. It's great stuff. So I love using that. But here, this is more what I'm after. See how it's dulled that down. It's now got this tarnished look to it. It looks more like kind of brushed steel or pewter. Yes, that's what I like. Look at the difference between the top and the shininess of the bottom. So we're gonna carry on with doing that to everything that I did silver, and then this one gets to be called done. For this one, I'm thinking that I'd like to add, I don't know if I have enough to make it work, but what I do have is, see, this is the issue. I have some oxidizing paints. So I have some in iron and some in bronze. And these paints, this one feels like it's drying up a bit. I guess he's still soft. These paints have metal filings in them. And then when sprayed with an activator, they create a patina. right? Maybe I'll try bronze. I don't know what that looks like. So if you're doing them on metal, then you need to, especially if you're using the one that creates rust, you need to use their blocking paint, which is sort of like an orangey color, because it will continue to eat through the metal, right? This is not metal, it's ceramic, so I'm not going to worry about it. But what we do have, this is very watery, and I just spilled it everywhere. What we do have is very little of the activator. And as a result, I don't know how much of this I'm going to be able to get to work. So I would have loved to have done tons. And as it stands, I'm going to be able to do a little bit. And then if the little bit isn't enough, then I will do some other things. So what you do is you paint on this paint, and you want to mix it up really well because it's got those metal pieces in it that will sink to the bottom. And I'm just trying to make them kind of go in spots where, you know, maybe it would have flowed down, right? And hope that I have enough activator to do this. If I don't, or if it doesn't work, I'll just repaint it. Okay, so, you know, I know a lot of you guys are going, oh, I might mess it up. I mess things up all the time. It's like, sometimes you just have to try things. And you know what? Sometimes they just don't work. And that's okay. Because at least then you either know what to try differently next time, or maybe it works, but you don't like it. So then you know, I don't like that look. I'm not gonna do that again. You know? So here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna paint this on, and this one, somewhere is on a black base, but you can kind of see, well, here, you can see where I painted it kind of in that browny, bronzy kind of color. And instead of spritzing the activator, I'm gonna have to kind of paint it on, dab it on these spots once it's dry. So I'll let this dry, and then I'll take a little brush and I'll kind of pounce over those spots. And we'll see. Probably can tell by the same clothes. This is the same day, but this is all dry and I'm getting ready to leave. So I want this to do its thing overnight while I'm gone and save me a day. Now, there's not very much of it, so I'm just gonna take a brush. Normally you just spritz it all over. I'm gonna take a brush and kind of paint over, kind of dabbing where I painted that metallic paint. And then we'll see if anything happens to it overnight. Now I'm using the Modern Masters paints and activators. I believe that Dixie Belle Paints has got their version of this now too. It used to be that it was just Modern Masters and that was it. But Dixie Belle came out with their version. And I'm not sure about other lines, to tell you the truth. So Modern Masters, I'm able to get from the hardware store. And so it's a little easier for me to be able to find, but you know, I'm sure that the Dixie Belle product is pretty much identical, is the same thing. So, you know, whichever makes it easier for you to find. This is in a little kit that you can buy, which has all three of the different paints, right? The base paint, and then the filing paint, and the activator. And you'll find that there's two different versions, one that gives more of a greeny patina, one that gives more of a blue patina. And so the two different metal filings in the paints. I don't know. I don't know if this is going to work still or not. It's been sitting a long time. Normally this is clear, which means, and here's my concern, is that I think that, again, I didn't spritz last time, and that my brush had paint elements on it, like some of the metal filings perhaps, and that they've reacted with this reactor already, in which case maybe it doesn't have any oomph left. And so I'm not going to get any reaction, which is going to mean we're going to start from scratch, and we're going to do something else with this. Well, as it turns out, the activator didn't have much oomph left. We got a bit of color in a couple of spots, so you can get an idea of that kind of antiqued color that you're going to get, but we got very little. So it doesn't look anything special. So we're going to plan 2. And it just kind of answers for me that, yes, my activator is done. I can get rid of that product. And if I definitely have a project where I want some of that some of that patina, I'm going to have to go and buy more stuff. And, you know, sometimes you just need to do a check. So what I've got here is I've got a little bit of Old 57 turquoise from DIY. So nice clay-based paint. Let me try and get the lid on. And I also have sea glass, which is a deeper turquoise. And I'm just gonna risk it with that same spoon. So let's get a little bit more of the actual sea glass. Okay, there we go. And I just get these wooden spoons from the dollar store. So I love them because I use a lot of these kinds of things in the shop, and I like to, you know, if I'm going to throw something out, let it be wood, right? Now, I also have bronze from Modern Masters Metallics line. I don't know why I have such big containers of this stuff around here, but I do. So I'm going to use it. It's just a nice, deep, rich kind of bronze. Just kind of makes sense. That's what it is. And I have, okay, just as long as you're on. I have Pennies from Heaven, which is copper from DIY, so nice and bright. And, you know, I get people saying, wow, you're mixing a lot of different products. They don't all have to be from the same line, right? So let's just pour out a bit of this because it'll go far. And I'll find more plastic for you. And then I also have, I'm going to say silver, but it's more, what color are they calling this? Why wouldn't it say? Sterling silver. It does say. So sterling silver from, again, this one is, okay, I said Modern Masters. They're both from Rust-Oleum. I need another something. This is separated a little bit. Okay, so these are both from Rust-Oleum in the Metallics line. And I got these from my hardware store. So I don't need very much of the silver because I don't imagine I'm going to use a lot of it. But if I do, I got lots left. All right, so the other thing I've got a little bit of water in this cup, which was from another project. So, you know, perfect. It's here. And I have a little sea sponge. So I'm just wetting it and then wringing it out. So I'm starting with the damp sea sponge. And what I'm looking at doing is adding color. So I want to start by adding a little bit of these turquoises in some different spots. I just want to expose my dark one here. There we go. And I'm just going to use this in some of the places that I wanted to see some of that patina come up, right? So I don't want to put this everywhere. but I do want to have it just on some of those spots that maybe we would have gotten some of the patina. You'll notice I've dropped a little bit of coal black from Fusion in there. It occurred to me that I likely would want a little bit of black in the mix too. Okay, I'm just going to use another part of my sponge. Saves me having to go wring it out and clean it all out. But now, so, you know what? We're kind of missing a section here, as I saw on the camera. So we're kind of splotchy all over. And now we're just going to add more splotches on it. Actually, I'm just going to go right over it. So I'm going to take a bit of my bronze and a little bit of my copper. And I just use the paper on my table to kind of I'm just going to start doing this all over it too. And as much as it looks like I'm kind of doing this all over, I am trying to be a little bit strategic about the where I'm doing it and kind of how much is going where. So I don't want to cover all of my blue, but I do want to start to integrate it in. I don't want this to look like it's just this big modeled piece, right? That it just looks like a big sponge painting. So it does require that we're going to do multiple layers. But do you see how this is already softening out that blue? We're getting hints of it, but you know, it's not as bold as up here. That's what I'm looking for. So, you know, I'm after that softened look where I get some of these colors, but nothing is glaring, and that ultimately is going to look a little bit aged. I have this a lot where I want it, and I have deliberately, you can see those original black lines in the details of the piece. I'm leaving those. I like that. And what I am doing is I'm just dipping a little corner of my sponge into the black paint, and I'm just adding a little bit of that dark shadowy detail in some of the grooves and some of the details, so that I'm adding some of that black over top back again. This is all dry, but I still need to zhuzh it a little bit. You know, just sometimes I need to do more. So what I do, what I am opening up here, I have some black wax, I have some clear wax, then I have some turquoise wax. I'm going to take a stencil brush. It's an old cheap one that I use for waxes. And I'm just taking my clear wax first and just kind of putting it into a lot of the grooves and things. So I'm going to do one side with a little bit of what I'm kind of envisioning here. And then we'll see if it's doing what I want and whether or not you can see a difference with the other side. So I'm kind of taking it into these grooves and darkening them out a little bit, but I am going to go in with the turquoise and put that over the black a little bit, just to add, like right in here, just this little faint kind of patina look more than anything else. I just want, now that we're at it, and again, not what I was anticipating, but you know, so I'm just trying to get it a little bit more aged looking. So you can see I'm doing a fair bit of the turquoise in here. And then I'll just take my little cloth and I'll rub it off a little bit. So I don't want that to look super bright, but I did want a little bit more of that blue color in there. Okay. Can you see that blue just kind of shimmering in there a little bit versus this side that just looks a little bit duller? So it's not a dramatic thing, but I want it to look sort of like that patina, that aged blue is just starting to hit. You know, if this was an all metal piece, it's just starting to change out some of that coloring a little bit. So I'm gonna carry on with this, and then, trust me, then it's done. And now our pieces are all finished. I love this part. I love okay, this is where they ended up. Now remember, these were 5 different projects, all different shapes, different objects, starting from different colors, etc. And we went black. So we painted all of them black. And then I showed you different finishes. I mean, the last one was a little unexpected in terms of the finishes I ended up showing you. But you could take a bunch of black objects, and then if it was for your home, to make them all consistent, take one of these finishes that's going to work for you. You know, whether the champagne gold or the copper, or, you know, the tarnished silver look, or, you know, the antique gold, or, you know, the really worn, aged look is what would fit into your home. Do it to all of them to make them all consistent little pieces, and then, you know, scatter them throughout the room so that they become little accents that tie your look together. So one of the first ones we did was this little canister set, right? And it wasn't uniform in color, but here we've got the little lids, and we finished this off, the black, with that champagne gold color from Fusion Paint. And it just highlights all of those details wonderfully. And again, spray paint on the open elements of this is really the way to go. You don't want to have to hand paint that. And it looks great. We took those small little, I think that they fit onto an end of a rod this way, but I love them as upright finials to be able to bookend something. And we did them with a little bit of the turquoise wax and then dry brush some of the copper. And I think that they really stand out. I love this finish for them. We also did that big old, oh Lord, that's heavy, mirror. Look at, okay, so ignore that you're looking at my roof, but look at the finish on this with that golden rule. It's just such a lovely aged kind of translucent look. You can go over it again once it's dry to make it a stronger statement, but I love it where it's just soft and kind of romantic and just looks like it's drifting over the piece. So this was not an attractive mirror prior, I didn't think. But, oh, okay, well, you're just gonna stay here because you're just too heavy to put anywhere else. And then we took that little jewelry dish. So we added the little trinket dish on the bottom to be able to give a little bit more storage. We took that gilding wax from Annie Sloan in the silver, and then we black waxed it, right, to be able to tarnish it out, to make it look a little bit more brushed steel. And I quite like this now. It's got a little bit of kind of a grunge look to it. It's taken this into a different direction from where it was, and I think it's super fun. The last one was our big blue plastic finial, and I gotta tell you, this was the problem child. And there's always something, right, where I've got it in my head to do a certain look. And what we found was that those patina liquids and things, they were just too old. They've been sitting on the shelf for a long time. The patina spray had been compromised. And so it didn't give the look I was originally after, but hey, we went in a different direction, and I really like that kind of aged, old, modeled kind of look on this. And I really think that those final steps of adding some of that black wax in, and definitely that turquoise wax, really kind of was a finishing touch that it needed. Okay, wow. I hope that this gives you an idea of how you can take a variety of objects. If you're switching out your living room, you can take a variety of objects that seem to have no connection at all and just finish them the same way to be able to use as accent pieces that create that consistency of look. But especially if you have a booth or a bazaar, having a number of pieces that have, again, a similar finish means that if somebody picks up one piece, done in a particular look, then they're going to look at another piece that's finished similarly and they're going to say, wow, that goes together. That's going to help me tie in my look. And you can increase your sales that way. It also means that painting everything black with a spray paint to start was a very fast start to these projects. So grouping items together that are going to have a similar finish helps you be able to complete them faster, which decreases your costs. And that is important if you're not working with very big margins to begin with. So if you've got your own small business, keep that in mind. I hope that this helped you in some direction, either seeing the different directions that you can take black and the beauty that it can give. It's a nice switch up from, painting everything white. But, we're going into a period where a lot of people are starting to decorate with dark colors again and using, kind of that old English library kind of look and introducing some of those dark colors and metallics in different ways. So I hope that this served to give you some inspiration. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I definitely appreciate it. Check out the website, queenbeecreationshome.com, for any of your crafting or decor needs. And apart from that, I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Until then, take care.